One involves, I thought maybe, Amy, if you're okay with this, we would do our living wage work first and then kind of go into the planning meeting that we want to do with the other task forces. That way, if EEJ folks wanted to pull off, they could. And then the task force leaders that wanted to stay and talk about the town hall, we could do that. So I thought maybe we'd start with that first. So Amy, do you want to explain kind of where we are with the living wage certification? And hopefully everyone got the email that has some of the steps of where we are now and moving forward, but I'll just turn that over to you.
Yeah, thanks. And hello, everyone. So the national living wage is really moving forward. We've been working on it for a little over a year, and Economic Equity and Jobs Task Force kind of joined in more directly around December. And we put together a survey to put out to the NOAA membership that we have not launched because we were trying to kind of wait until there were not other simultaneous efforts and campaigns happening. So we're excited to send that out if and when it's ready. We had kind of earmarked May or June. So if it's possible to run in June, we'd love to have a launch at the public meeting and invite people to take the survey. The survey is both kind of educational, but also gathers some information on what people think wages are in Nashville, and we'll build out our base to get people to support the Nashville Living Wage campaign when we actually launch it, which we're planning to do for Labor Day. So that's why this timeline is a little, I don't want to say it's tight, but it's definitely moving toward launching in Labor Day. So what that means is we have an application for employers that we're asking people to review and to beta test and make sure that it's working correctly. We also have a website that we're asking people to review for content and readability, understandability, vocabulary, all of that. We have the survey that we ask task force members to review before it goes out to the note-wide or NOAA membership. And then we have a directory of employers that we're just brainstorming to reach out to over the summer, because our hope is to have 10 to 20 certified employers for Labor Day so that we can actually launch with a base and have those employers publicly announced as incentive and leverage for others to join over the fall. So that is our timeline. This is a voluntary certification program, and so no one's forced to do it. No one's shamed for not paying the living wage, but we're hoping to honor those who do pay. And we're using, in case you're kind of new to this discussion, we're using the ALICE report to determine what that wage is. ALICE is the United Way Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed kind of the research that's gone behind to define kind of the working person who cannot afford to meet basic needs. So the survival wage for Davidson County is $17.37, which we're rounding up to $17.40, and it would be $15.40 with employer provided health insurance. So we're using equivalent programs from around the country as our model, including for our application and all of the paperwork and welcome packets that will go out to employers. And we're currently working with, there's this amazing volunteer, Paige Schaffrath, who some of you might remember from the Nashville Rising Forum a couple years ago, and she and her friends that are in kind of production and design are helping us with 2 different educational videos that we're hoping to have ready at the end of May, which is why launching the survey in June could be great, because we could send it out with the links to the video and the website and the survey. So it would, again, be educational, and then we'd also be gathering some information from folks. I did see a question come in the chat from Jane. And so, Jane, do you want to pose your question about the application that you filled out?
Well, I filled it out not knowing if I was the person who should do that. I assume this was a sample. Yes?
Yes, yeah, we haven't actually
Okay.
invited employers to apply. So we're just
Okay.
having people submit it to make sure it's working and to give feedback
Okay.
on, yeah.
Because I do not, I would not be the one who would actually represent my church in doing that. It would be the business manager, but I put his name in there. So, okay. But I gave you all the information that you probably want. So I hope I did
Great.
that. Okay.
Yeah, and our hope, Jane, is after sending the survey to EE&J members that representatives of each congregation or community or organization would then send the application to the proper person in their, congregation to fill it out and to consider being a living wage certified employer, which I think many of us, if we're honest, probably would say that our congregation may not meet those qualifications. Hopefully they will, and that would be great. And we would love to highlight those who do. But we know that many people who work in a ministry field often don't get paid a living wage. So thank you, Jane. And you're kind of a step ahead, which is great. I mean, that's where we want our NOAA membership to be after taking the survey, to say, okay, now who's the person in your organization that should be getting this? Can you have a conversation with them about filling out this application?
So Amy, I just want to make sure, so all the steps are ready for us to share this at our public meeting on the second Tuesday in June, correct?
They are, yeah. Unfortunately, I cannot be there at the second meeting, second Tuesday in June. So, which is
I,
unfortunate, but I think I can, talk to anyone to prepare. I mean, Marlene,
yeah,
you'd be perfectly
I'm happy
qualified.
to help do that with you. And since President Thompson's on tonight and Mike, we can just take notes and ask that our task force could, maybe have 10 minutes to explain this and to put it in the group chat and to let people know ahead of time. This is something we've been working on for quite a while, and we want to, share this with all of the NOAA members.
And I do want to say the info video could definitely be ready by then, and it'll be less than a minute. And
Great.
since I'm guessing this is going to be a virtual meeting still in June, it'd be awesome to show that, because I think that's probably going to be one of the most succinct ways to share the information. There's going to be two videos. One is kind of the general video to the community, and the second one is to employers. I don't think the employer one will be ready, but that's less pertinent to the NOAA group.
That's awesome, Amy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So that's like the big portion that NOAA is doing, and it ties right in. I don't know if some of you saw the Metro Social Services, the human rights. Mike, am I saying this right? They just came out with, it was either yesterday or this morning, the state of Nashville, of where we are economically, and it was really dire to actually see the numbers. I can share that with Mike, and he can send it out to everyone. It was, I mean, our poverty rate is incredibly high. We don't do well when you compare us with sister cities like Austin, like Charlotte, like the other areas. When you look particularly at our brown and black neighborhoods, they are doing worse off. But overall, all of working Nashville is doing worse off. So it was an interesting study to see, knowing that this was coming, Amy, that we're talking about living wage, and knowing that so many employers are saying, we're going to hire, we're desperate for people. And when folks tell me, like, I just can't find anyone to hire, I always say, well, you're not paying enough. There are people that, but you've got to raise your wages. So anyhow, that will be interesting to see. So
yeah.
Yeah,
I was just going to add one other thing. So July will be a month where we're going to do a lot of like phone banking and kind of grassroots education and outreach to the wider community about Nashville living wage. And we will also be fundraising for this project. And it's going to be it's a very meager amount. We're looking to hire a part-time coordinator at 20 hours a week paying them a living wage. So we start fundraising for that over the summer. And so that is also one other way that NOAA might, like EEJ might be able to participate, is kind of phone banking, both to educate the wider community and also raise funds. So that's kind of to be determined down the road, but I just wanted to mention that.
Awesome.
So we don't have anybody here from IVE, right?
Rutherford's there.
Yes,
Rutherford.
Oh, there
Yeah.
you are. Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm in a car in the rain, so that's why I was muted. I didn't want to let the noise. But yeah, so yeah, that's why I was listening in. To, of course, we didn't. Well, and this may go to the other part of the meeting, but we didn't necessarily have an issue. But we do want to look and see where there's some ways that IBE can help support what y'all are doing in EEJ. And so the phone banking, the outreach, that'll line up exactly with the things what we're trying to do. So we'll just need to kind of work through the details of plan and figure out what'll be the best way that we can effectively support you.
Thank you, Rutherford. That leads me into, I think since we're here and we talked about the big issue that EEJ is driving, I thought it might be nice for us real quick to have everyone just go through briefly. Tell us your name, the organization you're affiliated with, and which task force, since we have folks from all the task forces, I think, here tonight. So I will model. I'm Marley Albert. I work for SEIU. That's labor union. That's our member organization of NOAA. And I'm with the Economic Equity and Jobs Task Force. Jane, would you go next?
I'm Reverend Jane Borm. I'm with Christ Church Cathedral. I'm not a priest there. I'm ordained in another denomination, the Disciples of Christ. But I am a Eucharistic minister there. I'm with the Criminal Justice Task Force. I'm the co-chair there. And our concern with living wage is that people who are being discriminated against in that way get set up for frustration on the job. And that then lends itself to anger issues in the workplace, which then lends itself to threats. And as we saw with one of the gentlemen over the weekend, it ended up in a killing of that young man by the police. So, you know, it's sort of like one thing leads to another. So you have to have some fairness in the system, even for persons with mental illness, because if there's not fairness, it just exacerbates the whole situation for someone with some kind of a condition.
Yeah, thank you. No, all of our issues are so interconnected. Thank you. Sydney, I'm just going to call out folks as they come on my screen and kind of slide through. Sydney, would you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Sydney Lunn. I am a member of IATSE, which is the Theatrical Stagehand and Employees Union. But I became acquainted with NOAA through participation as a delegate with CLC. And so that's how I become involved with this group. I just want to circle back to something Jane was saying. I was listening to a podcast about mental health and the ways that the media atomizes mental health as if it's always a self-help project and not a societal issue. And one of the best things you can do, there's statistical evidence about people making a living wage. The less people make, the more suicide there is. The more people make, the less suicide there is. And so I just think that that's, you know, something we really can focus on right now. Good to see everybody.
Thank you, Sydney, so much. Amy, you got a chance to talk about all the great work you're doing, but do you want to tell folks what organization you're with?
Sure. Amy Schlide-Mayer. I'm with the Catholic Labor Network, which is a national organization, and I'm a representative here in Middle Tennessee. But I'm also a member of St. Henry Parish and on their Faith and Justice ministry.
Thank you, Amy. And Kevin, I know this is your first time joining us with Economic Equity and Jobs. Do you want to introduce yourself? But you are on mute. Sorry.
Better, right?
There you go.
Okay. I just recently discovered that NOAA goes miles beyond housing. So I spent some time looking at your website and the different groups because I think it's very interesting. I think you're doing very good work. I was very active before we moved here 3 years ago from South Florida in, although it was a smaller city, in just civic issues. And one of them was kind of a variety of issues that revolved around the local economy and economics and spreading the money around and people paying their fair share. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to talk about it, but I won't bore anyone with now. So I'm intrigued by what I've read about the Economic Equity and Jobs Task Force. I think you've put your finger on a number of issues that I think slipped through the cracks when this development engine is roaring in Davidson County. So I was very happy to, thank you, Mike, for sending me the link to dial into this meeting. And Jane, you'll let me know if you did not get the comments I emailed to you about the meeting just a few days ago. But so I'm happy to be here and look forward to learning more about my background briefly. Before I spent 10 years teaching public schools, I worked on Wall Street for almost 20 years when we lived in New York. And so I've got a fairly good sense of financial and economic issues. And I like to think of myself as being a problem solver, and I know how to connect the dots. So we'll see if that may be able to help out your efforts.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. President Thompson, we're so glad we get you here tonight.
Okay, Edward Thompson. I'm affiliated with the AME Church and with Friends of Friend Ministry. I'm the chair of NOAA.
Thank you. Liza.
Liza Ramage, retired teacher. I would love to be a co-chair, but I am the chair of the Education Task Force and a member of Belmont United Methodist Church.
Thank you, Liza. Mary, would you introduce yourself to everybody?
I'm Mary Rafferty with the Anna Webb Group, which is a Catholic social justice group. And I'm retired. I worked in banking for off and on for 30 years. And I have found that NOAA has opened my eyes to a lot of issues that the city has to deal with. And
you're on our EEJ task force, Mary.
Yes, so I am. I'm on the EEJ.
I'm claiming you, so you get to be ours.
Yes, well, that's where I need to be. Okay.
And Brother Overton, you are driving. Are you safe to talk? You want me to introduce you? Okay, you're good.
Real quick, yes. Rutherford Overton. I'm affiliated with Temple Baptist. Mike Reverend Thompson will be glad to know I finally got a completed application from Reverend Dumright, so I'll get that to you. Then I am a part of the Integrated Voter Engagement Working Group. So we're not a task force as of yet, but we're sort of newly formed, trying to sort of hit our stride. And one of the things, as I mentioned earlier, that we're trying to do is to look at ways that we can support all the task forces and engaging the community and hence with that potential voters on the issues that we feel are in their best interest. So glad to be on the meeting and looking forward to what we're trying to accomplish.
Thank you, Rutherford, always. Thank you, thank you. Reverend Brown Safor, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, Reverend Linda Brown Safor, retired Air Force, retired teacher, AME pastor, and NOAA secretary at the time. And my internet is out because of the storm, so I'm holding my cell phone.
I'm with you. Reverend Brown Safor, I'm in the parking lot because we had no internet and no power at my house. We lost everything. So I'm in the parking lot at the library getting Wi-Fi. Yes, I feel you. Shirley Marks, would you introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure. Yes, I'm Shirley Marks, and I am a member of Metropolitan Interdenominational Church, and I'm on the Affordable Housing Task Force. And I was listening as, the EEG, J gave their report, and it's like wages and affordable housing go arm in arm. So I was glad to hear what your task force is doing and how we can link in
Good.
some form.
Thank you. Thank you. And the beloved Regina Davis, last but not least.
Hello, I'm Regina Davis. I'm a member of Metropolitan Interdenominational Church, and I am on the steering committee of the Affordable Housing Task Force, and Ron and I co-chair the campaigns coordinating committee.
Regina's the brains.
Also.
Sorry, I just had to roll. Regina's the brains of like all good things. Regina and Ron that help us work and function. Yes. So I don't have, like I said, I'm in my car trying to get Wi-Fi from the library to make this meeting work tonight because of the storms. But Mike, do you have the sheet that Regina sent us earlier?
Yes, I do. I got it. I think
Okay.
I can just put it in the chat.
Awesome. That would be great if people could see that. And while we look at that, I think what I wanted to do is to sort of talk about the why. So the purpose of the meeting right here. It seems to me, as many of us probably read or saw the mayor's announcement last week, the budget announcement, and he had lots of good stuff and lots of items that NOAA cares about and we have really lobbied for and worked for. I think the devil's really going to be in the details of a lot of how that works. And it also really struck me and others as we were looking on it, how important it is that we interconnect all of the issues that we're fighting on and how much we're actually asking for. Because if affordable housing, for instance, was fully funded and everything they wanted, and they got all that they wanted, would the social emotional learning get fully funded in education? Would the criminal justice get everything that they wanted on their mental health diversion work that they wanted? And would, for economic inequity, would we get pay increases for any of our Metro employees? Like, how much do all of these things cost? And it struck me that maybe it would be really helpful for us as task force leaders to be able to put a number on the amount of what we're talking about, and then to realize why we have to talk about these long-term campaigns and really couch this in, we want a moral budget for Nashville. This is why we want Nashville to have a robust taxing structure. This is why we want to be able to look at not just filling holes this year with maybe federal funds that we're getting because of the pandemic, but really having these long-term plans of what would it look like if we were doing SEL funding in schools, for instance, for the next 5-10 years. What does that funding formula look like? What does it look like if mental health and a part of criminal justice was in all of the long-term planning? What does that look like down the road? And so if we're able to do some popular education around that with our NOAA members, then we're able to educate people about how we want our city to be funded, in what manner, again, long-term, not just right now, this fiscal year. So we're not just begging and pleading with one politician after the other, but we're really starting to change conversation about what we feel are important issues for our city and how we want our city to be funded long-term. I'm just gonna keep saying like long-term, because I think sometimes we get so I appreciate what you said, Sister Marks, about the interconnectedness of some of these issues, because I think we get focused on our own issues. We kind of get siloed in the issue that we care about and not realizing like, oh, well, if I'm fully funded, where are we going to take from who, from wherever for this year, but looking at the bigger picture. So that's kind of our overall idea is how would these things look connected together, and can we do popular education around why we think that funding all of this, even if it's not done in one fiscal year, but funding all of it collectively and having this longer term plan. It's the idea of affordable housing having an actual like dedicated department head part of Metro Nashville government, so that there's someone accountable to that long, again, like long term, thinking about this interconnectedness for our city, not just one fiscal cycle after another. So that's kind of the idea of why we wanted to get this meeting together. That's what we sent out in a email to the task force leaders and said, hey, would you be interested in coming on and talking about this and how these issues could be presented? So it could be a conversation around how would we do popular education? How would we train our NOAA, just folks that show up to really have some conversations, some ideas about that. So I will stop monologuing. Thoughts, ideas, what bubbles up for you when you hear all that?
Morley,
Yes, sir.
just a brief comment. In the mayor's proposed budget, he's got apparently 2.5 million that he would like to dedicate to SEL. You know, with this state, we don't know what happens with that because the council has to chew on the budget and et cetera, et cetera. But it appears as if he's making a specific commitment to that part of Nashville schools.
Okay, I'm gonna jump right in. Chair of Chair of the Education Task Force. What was originally in the budget, and boy, these things get murky and hard to find, was 5 million plus for advocacy centers in the elementary schools, that's SEL, and 2 million plus for a restorative practice assistant in every middle and high school. So it was actually in excess of 7 million that was originally, I mean, maybe 8, I don't know, but it was a lot more than that. And so this has been a learning experience for me to be able to see what it means when the mayor tells us in a meeting, yes, SEL is a priority for us. And he says in his budget address, we are going to fund SEL. We are fully funding the MMPS budget. We still don't really know what's in there, but it's no $7 or $8 million for SEL.
Thank you, Liza. I think that that's an exact, I'm like excited. I wish we were all in the same room. Y'all could see my excitement. That's exactly why I want to have this town hall, right? Is to say like, it's kind of word salad with politicians, right? They say the words that they know voters want to hear, but here's the details. Like actually a fully funded SEL in metro schools would be this amount. And we appreciate the mayor saying he's going to fund it. We appreciate it being a priority. To really get to some benchmarks, we need this amount. We'll start with where we are here, but we don't want the city to think that's a fully funded budget. That's a beginning conversation to making it important. Fully funding looks like 8 million, you know, whatever that is, like that's the kind of education I would love us to be able to say. And I'm just seeing the chat. Cheryl Major, I'm sorry you didn't introduce. Please give me grace. Literally, y'all, I'm on my phone trying to like swipe through the little squares. Cheryl Major, would you please introduce yourself? I'm so sorry.
No problem at all. I'm Cheryl Major. I'm a retired nurse, and I'm a member of the Metropolitan Interdenominational Church. And I have chosen to participate in the EEJ committee because this is the area that I know the least about. And being in healthcare all my career, I really was not aware of the disparity in economics and jobs, et cetera, and salaries. So I'm very glad to be learning as well as doing what I can to help solve this problem. So thank you.
Awesome, thank you. I'm so sorry. Just bear with me. Power outages. I'm trying to make this work. So gosh, Liza, I just want to get back to like, that was such a good example. And I think we have all of that in all of our task forces, right? Because I'll say from an economic standpoint, and what we get concerned about is this idea of living wage, and people that becomes this really politicized phrase. And I love the work that Amy has done and really talking about a sustainable wage or a survival wage, and like what does that really mean? And so talking about this and talking about that Alice report and really being able to educate people about what it means to have a full-time job and be able to do more than survive in Davidson County. What does that look like? What do we talk about? So if you guys are all on board with this idea, kind of what I hope we can come out with tonight is that if task force leaders agree we should do a town hall education, something around it. I think in looking at the dates, June 2nd, the first Tuesday in June, is going to be should be the second reading of the budget, and it will be the public comment. And I was down at the city council meeting in person a couple nights ago, Tuesday night. They have it now at the Music City Center. They validate your parking. It's in a big ballroom, so the chairs are all spread out, and you can show up in public and you can talk about it. So knowing that, it seems like it might be a good idea for us to have a town hall the Thursday before to do some education around this for people. And looking at the date, we were looking at Thursday, May 27th. It doesn't appear on the NOAA calendar that that conflicts with anything. We could do it virtually, and again, just try to do a popular education, invite all of NOAA members to come to attend, invite folks that are congregation, like not only how does the Metro budget work, like how do we get money, our money as taxpayers, right? It's all of our money. How do we use our money in a way that we believe is morally responsible to these issues that we care about? And how do we want this to be funded? So this idea. So the date we're talking about, maybe Jane, I'm throwing a date out here, would be May 27th. It's Thursday. It's the last Thursday in May before Memorial Day, before folks leave for Memorial Day weekend. We thought we might be able to do like a 6:30 Zoom meeting with folks that Thursday night.
I've got some sort of meeting that Metro's doing on a development that's near where I live.
Okay. You have
So
a zoning meeting that night. Bless you, Mary.
Yeah,
You go and do
what
good
it
work.
is. So I'll probably be there.
Good for you.
Okay.
Liza, would that work for economic? I know, I don't believe that's not a school board night, so we thought Thursday would be good for that, for you guys with education.
I was looking at this, and then as I so often do, I get waylaid by another little thing that I see. As far as my schedule right now, that looks good. Yeah, that looks fine.
Okay. And I don't think we have anyone on here from, affordable housing. Do we have,
I think Gina was working with a.
Well, Shirley was the one that was representing.
Yeah, I'm working with affordable housing too.
does that date sound like it would work, Shirley, for affordable housing?
It sounds, now, I don't see any overlap of any other meetings we'll have that will interfere with that.
Okay. Because if everyone feels good with that date, then we can announce it next Tuesday at the NOAA public meeting. And you just kind of announce it and I'll do a brief description. And really, as I hear the brief description, it's all of our task forces, all of our work involves being funded through the Metro budget. And so we need to be able to put a dollar amount on how much would it look to fund our city in a morally responsible way. And what does it look like to really put pressure and to put requests into politicians so that this is a long-term effort, not a once a year make somebody happy, or we bugged the right folks this year and they're going to throw a little extra money. Again, Liza, lifting up that idea of, the mayor said he was going to fully fund SEL or whatever he said, but here's the actual amount. And those of us that are in the trenches, this is what that amount would really look like. So having some of those examples. So in my mind, it would be kind of like each task force would have, a brief period of time to talk about their issue, how much it costs, what that funding looks like, what it would go for, all of that. And then we'd work that through. I think if you guys are good with it, we could invite the chairwoman of the budget this year, Quante Toombs, is a good ally. I think she really cares about this. She's done a really good job and tried pre-COVID to get out all across Nashville and have those town hall meetings. So I think she would really enjoy kind of trying to get across to people. Yes, we want to fund our city. Yes, we have to create priorities. I don't think this is a meeting where we need to do the ask people as much as it is. I just keep calling it popular education. Maybe there's another phrase for it. I think it's more about educating our own NOAA members and our kind of rank and file folks, our neighbors, our, our church people about how Nashville funding works, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions. And I do think because just of press and people don't read, but like they believe whatever the mayor said, like, oh, he said he's going to fund that. And not like, what does that really mean? And it has to get through Metro Council and amendments can be made. And, you know, that's sort of how the sausage happens. And what does that look like? And here's where you can help. And any of that work that like those of us on the inside have seen, how could we get that out in a popular education way?
Marley.
An hour. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to just throw something in there.
Please.
I don't think that would be a lot of work because the groundwork has already been laid. The task forces have put their priorities together already when we prepared for the meeting with the mayor. So I think just adding and totaling up what it would cost is the thing to do. And I think it would add just a little bit of punch if we could also compare what we're asking, each task force is asking, and the cost of that to what a comparable city has already done and accomplished in their budget. I think that'll add just a little bit of punch to what we're trying to do.
I like that, Regina. So finding, I like that. Finding a sister city that's had some success in this and say, you know, Austin did this and this, and it cost them this much money. I know Jane's got with the Cahoots program. She could say, you know, Portland, Oregon did X amount, and this is how much it cost them. So, yeah, being able to lift that up is a good idea. So as task force leaders, if you guys are good with that date and that time, we can announce that and then work with Ron and Regina, since they are our campaign coordinating committee folks that help us all stay cohesive. We could schedule, you know, sometime. Ron does a good job sending out something to all of us and getting a time where we could say, here's what we're going to need for your presentation. This is what it would need to look like. What are the numbers? Any of that kind of stuff, and kind of help pull that together.
Does it help in thinking about this to remember what you said earlier about like June 1st is the date of the public hearing on the budget? And so maybe we could build, it's Tuesday, June 1st. But
Thank you.
That's okay. But what I was thinking is if there could be a part of this that enabled people to contact their Metro Council members and encourage them to be at that public hearing, either physically or by the phone, however they set it up. It really does make a difference when people.
Oh, just muted yourself at the end of that, Mike. It does really make a difference. No, and I think I would love to have a part there where it could be like, you know, click on this and send an email to your council member, or right here, send them a text message, a call, anything that says, we want you to fully fund a moral budget. I just think, I keep using that phrase because that, I feel like we have the high ground in Nashville on that. You know, that is Noah's special claim, right? Is that in every way, you know, in every faith tradition there is, we honor whatever that faith tradition is, but just say, we morally believe that we want to live in a beloved community. And that means we pay for it. We sacrifice for it. We care about our sisters and brothers in this way. And we are calling on our elected leaders to fund a moral budget that shows that we care. I mean, I just feel like the more we keep plugging that and hitting that and letting people know we're holding them accountable to those choices, that's kind of, I just feel like that's Noah's special place.
Yeah.
Well, I would love for us to have as many people call in as they had call in for defund the police last year. I think there was maybe a lot of social media involved, but that was amazing.
So it was amazing. If I can a little tiny point of personal privilege on that, I'll tell you that was crazy. Some of y'all know I have a couple teenage kids, and that night, my children have grown up going to Metro Council meetings and like this is all normal to them. So because of COVID, all of a sudden we were all at home watching it online for the first time. And I'm not on TikTok because I'm old and middle-aged, but my kids are. And so it was like 10:30 at night. And all of a sudden my 16-year-old comes in and she's like, Mom, what's going on Metro Council? It's all over TikTok. And I'm like, what? Why is Metro Council on TikTok? And the younger people that were doing defund police were like begging their friends on TikTok to call in. So some of them at like 12:30, one of my daughter's friends called in, and I was like, happy. And I yelled at her. I was like, get him off right now. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's reading a script. But because the kids were up and it was and they were willing to do something unusual, which is like call in this number or say something on, it was just such a different, anyhow, it was amazing how quickly they used social media and how the rest of us did not pivot that quickly. But yes, I think this year, and after this year of us all doing this, right, like meeting remotely and learning these new things, I think, and Mike, we have an amazing, Kim is just so good with social media. I think between some of the staff that we have, we could use Twitter, we could use our Instagram account, we could use our Facebook account more to say, call in, ask them to fully fund a moral budget, and then having those amounts. This is what a moral budget really looks like, to hold the mayor and others a little more accountable, that like 2 million is not a moral budget for SEL in a school of this size, in a school district where we have underfunded systemically for decades. 2 million is a Band-Aid. So let's be honest about that. Yeah.
I really liked what you said too about kind of emphasizing the beloved community. Changes the narrative. Always before the last number of years, we've been in a narrative of we don't have enough.
Mike, you are cutting in and out, and it might be mine because of the storm, but it might be that you're on Tybee Island and it's just like the tides are coming in with the Wi-Fi.
No problem.
And thank you for being on vacation and doing this with us.
Okay, no problem.
Really?
No, yes. So how do we use that moral high ground? So Regina, would you, again, if you and Ron would help us put this together like you have historically with your worksheets and holding us all accountable. And President Thompson has already created space for us in the agenda next Tuesday where we can talk about this and we can ask, do our turnout ask, like who would come, who can we get some of our co-conspirators to show up online to talk about. And this is a good chance for folks that maybe aren't familiar with NOAA, like come and learn what we're spending, like come and find out. Like I'm going to push this to my other public school parents. Like you want to know what public school is spending money on, come and listen and let's see what it is. Liza, I think the time, I mean, but 6:30, is that a good post dinner? People are home in front of their screen time, go 6:30 to 7:30, do an hour.
At our meeting, monthly meeting, is that what you're saying, 6:30?
No, I was thinking for this town hall meeting on May 27th.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know. It's fine with me.
Is good. I just didn't get the link in time. So, but
okay.
6:30 is good.
Okay. I worry sometimes getting it too late, then you almost get busy doing end of day stuff and you go, oh crud, it's 7 and now I've missed it a little. So in my mind, 6:30 is still the end of the workday. So rolling that into it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What about everyone else? Is that a good time for other people as well?
Regina, I think it's a very good time because it gives, people time to come in and, get settled and for some, be able to eat dinner before the meeting.
Okay.
Could there be sort of or maybe this is what you're talking about at the meeting next week. At the general meeting, there be sort of a preview of the funding that's going to be presented at the town hall meeting?
I don't know if we have.
I feel like I don't know what we're asking from EEJ and affordable housing and education. I'm not sure I really know what the numbers are that we're asking it for.
I don't know that we all have an exact number. I mean, maybe Liza has the best exact number.
Okay, all right. Well, that's fair.
Yeah, I don't have one for EEJ, so that's what I'm going to need to do, and we'll talk about what does that number look like before May 27th.
Right. Okay.
And I don't know with affordable housing if they have an exact number. I know what they want the barns fully funded, but is that all of their ask? Like, what's the amount for all of their ask? What would that look like? And is it a 1-year ask? Is it a multiple year? What is that?
Okay, thank you.
Well,
So-
I know that there is the 30 million investment, but also Councilwoman Toombs, she's pushing for an additional 2.5 million for affordable housing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And is EEJ asking for a minimum wage, or is that already in there?
It is illegal.
Or a living, or, I mean, I'm just asking what we're asking for.
Yeah, so that would be more, so the living wage piece that Amy's talked about, the working, that is not a Metro ask. That's something that we're asking private individuals to do. So I would say as far as Metro goes, maybe our only ask would be that, I don't even know, because the mayor, I don't know, we would need to talk about that. I will send out an email to all of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know we have a lot of objectives in EEJ about creating jobs and making sure that that Nashville's represented, job takers are represented in the development and things like that. Okay, and a lot of fairness and safety issues. But how does that translate into dollars?
Exactly. That's what I'm in my head. I'm trying to think wow, I'd have to wrap around a dollar amount, but I think it's important that we do it. So I'm pointing fingers at myself. Like, this is a good exercise for us to do as well. Like, what does that dollar amount look like? We did just the other thing. So Tuesday night while I was at City Council, we got the Get It Right legislation. Some of you guys helped, and we called council members and asked them to pass that Get It Right bill. It passed unanimously. It was fantastic. It was a 40-person, everybody voted for it, which is amazing. Because it looks, the state may sue the city over it, which will be really interesting. But yeah, so it passed unanimously, which is great. And that's the bill that is around procurement and is around making sure that the construction that Nashville pays for as taxpayers is done safely with OSHA trained people and folks that actually lift up safety so that we're not risking the lives of people that are building our public structures. So, President Thompson, did you want to say something? I know you came.
Yes, I was asking what's the length of this particular meeting time? I know it's at 6:30 to what, so we can put it on the agenda.
I think it's an hour. I think 6:30 to 7:30. That way we keep it tight and full of meaty facts and not a lot of fluff. What do you guys think?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's great, personally.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Regina, I will need you and Ron to help me work your magic. So we work that all out and figure out the times and help all of us task force leaders stick with that.
Okay. Now, just to, for my clarification and just to respond to what Mary Rafferty was asking about the monthly meeting on Tuesday, all we're doing on Tuesday is giving a general overview of what happened tonight. And
yes, ma'am.
When we meet again, Mary, is when we'll work out the budgets from all the task forces and get that tied together.
Yes.
Yeah, because some of the other task forces too, I'm sure criminal justice, well, they pretty much have they kind of know what the cahoots amount is, but there's some other things that they might want to consider to include in that amount. So that's what we have to work out in our other meetings.
Awesome. Okay. Other things we need to decide tonight. Mike, I'm trying to.
Where is the Metro property tax issue?
So kind of nowhere. It looks like they didn't get enough signatures. So basically lawyers are looking at how many signatures did they get, didn't they get, did the front match the back, did they say the same things? So it looks like it is not up for a vote. It's not going in front of the whole city right now.
Okay, I just hadn't kept up. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the
that's
easiest way to say it. Yeah. I mean, but part of this is why it helps to have such to do the education with all of just everyone I talk to is like these things that we all want, right? Like as a public school parent, I want good public schools. Well, we have to pay for those. They don't magically happen, right? And I want to pay for, teachers to have restorative justice. And so what does that look like? I want to pay for mental health diversion. So our jails, we have other places. So what does that look like? How do we have an educational conversation about that, particularly as we see all the development happening and more people come into the city and they say like, oh, it's cheaper here than it was in New York or California. I don't have to pay income tax. Well, let's talk about what you get for that. So please pay property taxes so we can fund these sorts of things. And I'm surprised how many folks that consider themselves progressive are pretty happy that they don't have to fund things. And so when you really try to have that conversation about, but you want these things to exist, how do we fund them? And so that's where I think the more we can have these conversations and really try to break it down in understandable ways, I think it's beneficial.
Did we need to appoint a planning committee, or are Ron and Regina getting that together?
Ron and Regina are it. Unless someone else wants to volunteer to work with us.
We always take volunteers with Noah.
It just seemed like we might want somebody from each task force if we could.
Okay, can you tell me what date and time you will be meeting on?
At this point, I don't know.
Okay.
I have to check with Ron, see what his availability is. But it would be sometime, I would definitely say it would have to be sometime next week, probably toward the middle. Let me look at my calendar. Yeah, probably toward the probably toward the middle of next week.
Okay, well, I'll volunteer.
All right, thank
for
you.
affordable housing task
Okay.
force.
And Mike, are you recording the meeting?
I am. I should
Okay,
have mentioned that. I was recording it so we didn't lose anything.
Great, wonderful.
Well, if I can attend, I'm the only person here from education, so
we love
I'll step
volunteer.
up.
Thank you, Liza. Well, I'm hoping and Kay with affordable housing, and then of course, Sean Witzel and Jane with criminal justice. Rutherford is here with IVE. That just all of the task force leaders will either be able to do it themselves or say, here's the person that has the information for our group.
Yeah, we'll have somebody there, either myself or somebody from our steering committee can join in and help out as well. So
wonderful. Thank you, Rutherford.
Sounds good.
So anything else we need to cover tonight? We've got Amy, thank you again for all the work on this living wage. I'm excited that we're going to get to present it to everyone in June. Yeah, that timing is great with everything else going on as we're talking about the budget. And then folks that are on the call today, again, I'm going to forward to Mike that Nashville, I want to say it's social services. It's either social service or like community services, but they do this whole like, how is Nashville economic snapshot? And I want to share that with you all because other people should be sad where I am. Oh, and Amy, thank you for answering Kevin's question. Kevin, it's not, we've tried that in the past, and the state here in Tennessee, the state loves to preempt laws that our county passes. So we tried to pass a living wage. We were very excited about it, and the state preempted it very quickly. And so we have had to simply go through mayors and city council members just to raise wages, but we can't say living wage by all, living wage mandate for anyone in Davidson County. The state outlaws that.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that. I call the legislature Bigfoot because when they don't like what Nashville and or Shelby County are doing, they just stomp on it and they pass some legislation. It's what's going to create some big headaches for the whole Oracle project for legitimate entities who want to lobby for minority preferences on the construction side, for levels of employment, et cetera, for levels of diversity in the employment side. And there's state law on the books already that prevents that. So I understand. I'm just curious where, what kind of conversations may have existed with any council members on this issue. So I hear you, and thanks for answering.
Yeah, they all know about it. And I will say we have, just last year we were able, there are no Metro employees that make less than $15.40 an hour. We were able to raise all Metro employees up to that as a minimum, which took a lot of work. It was mostly our school employees, a lot of our folks that work in the lunchrooms and paraprofessionals, and then our 911 operators, sadly enough. So we had to raise them all up, which was good. Well, thank you guys for putting up with my phone etiquette tonight. I'm glad this worked. I'm glad there's Wi-Fi in parking lots in Nashville. So thank you. Any closing thoughts? We will look forward to Ron and Regina helping coordinate a convening meeting for us together to plan this all out next week, and hopefully see all of you Tuesday night at our large public meeting. And Mike, since you're a staff person, do you want to do the NOAA closeout?
I'll try. If I break up, let me know. First thing is always in our evaluation, the first thing is feelings. What are you feeling as you leave this meeting? Put it in the chat. Just put it in the chat if you will. All right, proud, says Reverend Thompson. Hopeful, says Amy. Anybody else? Please, says Liza. Encouraged, says Sydney. Optimism, says Kevin. Kevin, you're first time here. Why did you say optimism tonight? All right, you're on mute. You're on mute. You're still on mute.
Oh, what did you say, Mike? Sorry.
I was just asking about optimism. Could you tell us about optimism?
Because I've seen this in the past. There are, when individuals get together about issues that they care about and they recognize are important, the critical mass can grow, and there's always going to be an outlet, a positive outlet. It's not always as immediate as we all would like, but we have to keep pushing.
Okay, thank you. And I see Marley said grateful. Mary Rafferty said excited and curious. Reverend Brown Sephora said coming together. Say something more about that, Reverend Sephora. Coming together. Okay, you may be on. You're on mute.
Yeah, I'm on mute. I mean, it just seems like it's coming together so good in this one meeting, and it's a good thing to do. That's why I said coming together.
Good. Well, and that leads to the second thing is, how did the meeting work? How did the meeting work for us? Did everybody participate? You can nod or shake your head or whatever. All right.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, everybody participated.
All right. Did you feel like we've accomplished something? You know, sometimes you end a meeting and you're not sure what you accomplished. Did you feel like you accomplished something with this meeting?
I think so.
Yes.
All right. How do you think Maura Lee did on running the meeting? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a thumb sideways.
Very well.
Okay.
Thumbs up.
All right. Lots of thumbs up. Great. The third thing in our meeting evaluation is tension, because we want some tension to make us act differently after the meeting. Where was any tension in this meeting? Could be positive, could be negative, but where is it?
Some task force have their information already, but some others still need to do some work to prepare.
All right. So our preparation.
Yeah.
My tension was getting into the meeting.
Officially apologize to Regina. I had email problems and she did not get the link. So I acknowledge and bewail my manifold sins and wickedness. Okay. All right. Any other tension besides that? Okay, the last thing in the evaluation is just political learning. What did we learn from this meeting about the way Noah works in the world? And the main thing that came to my mind is that the sum of the parts is actually greater than the whole.
Mike, I think what you're saying is profound, but we lost you. You said what came to what came to my mind is, and then your sound like went down.
Let me try
There
one
you
more
go.
time. One more time. What came to my mind is that the sum of the parts is greater than the whole. Getting economic equity, getting housing, getting criminal justice, getting education, all together is greater than the whole. We have more power when we pull together. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you, Mike, so very much. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. And I'm going to drive home and pray my power's back on. So thank you, everybody. I'll see you Tuesday night. Thank you.
Thank you, Marley. You did an excellent job.
Thank you. Great. Grace is
Yes,
good.
you did.
Thank you. Bye-bye.